Welcome, my name is Brent Murray, and I'm going to be taking you through a tutorial on the phases of the moon through this podcast. First off, we're going to start with our basic introduction of what this unit is going to cover. We're going to be looking at the phases of the moon. There are 8 phases to the moon. We're going to discuss all of those phases in detail and what those characteristics are going to cover. We're also going to look at how long a lunar cycle takes place. In order for us to know all of the details about a lunar cycle, we have to know all the elements of the phases of the moon. So the lunar cycle builds upon those particular phases of the moon that we're going to cover. There's also going to be an activity that will be performed during our unit. We are actually going to create our own lunar cycle in the classroom with the sun, with the earth, and with the moon. So that'll be done a little bit later in our unit. We are also going to have an independent practice. This independent practice is going to be done at your home. You'll be able to work at it at your own pace and do it on your own in the confines of your house. First, let's look at all of the different phases of the moon. When we start a lunar cycle, you have the new moon. The new moon is entirely dark, so when you look up in the sky in the evenings, you are going to see the moon just completely in a black shape, so you won't really see anything in the sky. Following the new moon is the waxing crescent moon. This is when the moon is mostly dark on the left half, meaning everything else is lit, so you're not going to see a whole lot of light with this moon, so that's what you're going to see in the sky at night. Following that up is the first quarter moon. We're about a quarter of the way through our lunar cycle. This is when you actually see about half of the moon. You see the left half being dark and the right half lit up in the sky at night. Then the next you're going to see is the waxing gibbous moon. This is when it is mostly lit on the right side, and you have a little bit of the left half portion still a little bit dark, but at this point you have actually gone through about half of the lunar cycle. Next you have the full moon. The full moon is when the moon is completely lit outside. This is when all the crazies come out and you hear those sayings about when it's a full moon out at night. Everything is lit up very brightly in the sky. Then you have the waning gibbous moon. This is when the moon is mostly lit on the left half side. So where you began up at the new moon with nothing and then you came all the way to the new moon or the full moon with completely lit in the sky, we're going to be kind of going in the reverse direction, and it's going to be getting less and less lit. Then we come to our third quarter of the moon. This is when the left half of the moon is lit, the right half is dark. So again, you're starting to see less and less light take place. And your final stage of the moon phases is the waning crescent. This is when it's mostly dark on the right half, leaving a very little bit left of light in the sky. And then once you have completed these 8 phases, you will continue to go back to the beginning and cycle back up to the new moon. Now what we will do is you are going to be handed one of these sheets of paper with the particular phases of the moon on it. It's a little dark to see, but as I say, you'll be able to have this in front of you to see. What you and your group members are going to do will be to cut these images out, and you will use them as flashcards. So you and your group members will have flashcards to study by. So you can take these home at night. You can study those particular phases of the moon here or at your house. Now that we have our basic understanding of the moon's phases, we're going to take a look and apply those basic skills to the moon's orbits. Here what we have is a diagram depicting the moon's orbit around the Earth. Now, when you're looking at the different phases of the moon, there are 3 essential elements. You have the sun, you have the Earth, and you have the moon. Okay, the moon rotates counterclockwise around the Earth. Now, why it was important to understand those phases of the moon is to be able to identify those in the sky when you know when specific times are during the month, during the week, what have you. So what we have here, where my finger is, and it's also on this sheet of paper that's going to be handed out, it's in the top portion of this handout, is this diagram. So you can see when the sun is hitting directly to the Earth, when the moon is in its first phase, it is actually in between the Earth and the sun. This is when the new moon occurs, and we call this day 0. On about day 2 is when we get to our waxing crescent, which we learned about in the previous podcast. and you can kind of see it just continues to go around the Earth, and you can notice how the sun is hitting those particular phases of the moon. Where you see that it's dark, that means there is no light being shown to that particular side of the moon. Where it is white, you can see that's the part of the moon that is being lit up, and that's what you see in the sky. But this is what is known as the moon's orbits. What we are going to do with that is you are actually going to, in just a few moments, do an activity in which you are going to take this entire cycle and perform it in the classroom. We are now to our portion in our unit where we're actually going to conduct our moon phase activity. First of all, in order for us to do this, we need to have a list of materials. You are going to be given a moon phase experimental handout. You are also going to be given one styrofoam ball that is going to represent the moon. You are also going to be given one Earth, and in this case, our Earth is going to represent a student in your group. And you're also going to be given a sun, and that's going to be in the form of a flashlight. It may be a light off a cell phone, or it could be a lamp. All right. Your objective is to create each particular phase of the moon that is listed from the phases we've already previously learned. The moon phase experiment handout guide will take you through this entire process, and what you're going to be able to do with your group members is actually show each particular phase of the moon and how it's lit up. Let's take a look at how our moon phase activity is going to be performed. We've had to make it a little bit darker just to give a good image of the light. You can see over here we've got a very light bright. That is actually going to be used as our sun, and it's a light from a cell phone. Here in my hand, I have a copy of just a styrofoam ball. This is going to be used to represent our moon. And here we have a globe that's going to represent the Earth. So what we're going to do here real quick is kind of give you an idea of what this activity is going to look like so you have the basic understanding of how it's going to work. Now, right now you can see that where the light is coming from, the moon is directly in between the Earth and the sun. Now, as you can see from the particular styrofoam ball, you can see where it is lit up. That is actually not what we see on the Earth. Because we are here, we are actually seeing what is on the moon from this angle. So right now, at this particular point of the lunar cycle, we are actually at a new moon because it is completely black. So what we're going to do is that will be one of our pictures that we draw on our handout. Now, as we continue to rotate around the Earth, we are going to see that the light is going to change on the styrofoam ball. Now, at this particular phase, we have a little bit of light coming from the styrofoam ball from where the Earth is positioned. At about this point, we are to our first quarter, and about half of the styrofoam ball is lit, the other half is dark. As we continue to rotate, here from where we are on Earth, this is where your new moon is located, shining light down to the Earth. So this is the side of the moon that we're seeing. Now, we get the term the dark side of the moon because at this particular stage of where the moon is located, the side that we do not see is known as the dark side. Here is the light side. So you're going to continue to rotate your styrofoam ball around the Earth until you finish the complete lunar cycle. We are now to our last lesson in our moon phase units. This is going to be our independent practice. This is actually what you're going to be doing at home rather than in the classroom. First thing that you're going to be doing is you will be issued a moon observation diary handout, which is going to look like this. On this handout, you're going to be given the particular phases of the moon, and a little up-close version, you are going to see little circles, and underneath that it's going to say date and time. Now, what you're going to do with this is you are going to draw the particular phase of the moon that you see at night at your house. You need to choose a particular time in the evening in which the moon is easy to see, and you are going to draw what you see out at night. You want to try to choose the same time in the evening to do this. If it's off by a few minutes, that's not a big deal, but you want to try to be able to draw what you see at night, and you're going to keep a running log of this. As you continue to see the different changes in the moon throughout the 4-week cycle, what you're going to do is at the end of each week, you are going to write what you see. You're going to keep a journal log and make predictions. So at the end of the first week of the lunar cycle, you're going to tell what you observed in the lunar cycle. Did the moon get more lit? Did it get less lit? Was it dark? What have you? And then what you're going to do is also make predictions on what you think is going to occur in the week to come. So at the end of each of those 4 weeks, you're going to be able to write about what you see, make predictions about what you saw, and then you're also going to be able to tell me if your predictions came out to be correct. Now, for an extra credit assignment, if you have the capability, you may actually, in lieu of drawing the phases of the moon that you see, you may create a time-lapse video of the moon in place of drawing those images. You can either do this by just taking the still shot pictures at the same location, same spot every night, and create a video to turn in instead of drawing out the moon. So that could be an option for you as well. This is the end of our unit. Thank you